Guys, welcome to this week's podcast episode. And I've got a fantastic guest for you today, Joel Staley, coming from Omaha, Nebraska. And he is an entrepreneur. And most importantly, he's going to talk to us about the importance of fasting. And he helps people achieve optimal health through this concept of fasting, which is starting to take storm in a lot of circles. People are saying, just like cold showers, and I'm really happy to bring him on the show, talk about fasting and how he does it and helps his clients. So, Joel, welcome.
Welcome, Dr. Lou. Big fan.
Yeah. And I love this podcast because it's very informal. We drop so all my friends call me Chris and talk about your business, how you got started, and what you do.
Yeah, beautiful. In 2016, I just got out of the Navy and I needed a challenge. So I decided a childhood rival of mine, like one of my best buddies. You know how you have best buddies from childhood that you're always competing with and you want to do better than them? Well, when I was in the Navy, he was doing these fitness competitions. So
Yeah.
when I got out, I signed up for my first fitness competition and I ordered this meal plan from a local fitness trainer. And it said you have to have 2,000 calories every day and have egg whites and oatmeal and broccoli and chicken breasts and steak. And I followed it to a T for 12 weeks. Like I joke, I wouldn't even, my now wife, my girlfriend at the time, would try to get me to eat like a piece of popcorn, and I wouldn't because it wasn't on my meal plan. And I did lose about 20 pounds, and I looked really good for my fitness competition. But what I didn't realize at the time is that when you lose weight with those really restrictive methods, it's almost kind of like a pendulum, where as soon as my competition was over, all the burgers and burritos and donuts and breakfast sandwiches and margaritas and everything that I always loved to eat that I hadn't been allowing myself for the last 12 weeks, I just started binging and I could not stop. And
Mhm.
the 20 pounds that took me 12 weeks to lose, I gained back in about 2.5 weeks. And then this just kind of amplified. I did the same song and dance where I would get meticulous with my calories and macros and lose weight and then undo what I had started multiple times, yo-yo dieting and whatnot. And it only amplified when I started having kids. And it wasn't until around then that I started experimenting more with fasting. I mean, everyone has probably at least dabbled now with the 16/8 fasting, but I started to learn that the real benefits came if you could make it past the 24-hour mark and do like 24 hours, 48 hours, even like 72 hours every once in a while. What was crazy was when I was working these fasts in, I was able to still eat the food that I enjoyed, and the fat was just peeling off me.
Uh-huh.
And I was able to get to a point that I could work minimal fasting in because maintenance is so easy compared to actually losing the fat that I didn't end up having that gigantic rebound.
Uh-huh.
And so what drew me to your podcast, Chris, is I've worked with a lot of physicians over the last 5 years who tell me that they feel hypocritical because they're 250, 300 pounds and they're telling their patients that they need to lose weight and they're telling them to track calories and macros and just eat better, even though they themselves have tried this same song and dance for decades, ultimately, putting them in a position to feel hypocritical because they're oftentimes heavier than the patient that they're prescribing this method to.
Yeah.
So once we're able to teach them that prolonged fasting and working it into your schedule and eating with your family at night, but also not having to cook 6 meals that you have to break up your busy day and plan and carry a bunch of Tupperware to work and just constantly be stressed about another to do. If you're able to plan your fasting around your appointments and your busy schedule, and then your meals, the non-negotiables where you're eating with your family and whatnot, you
Yeah.
can actually lose the weight. It's so common sense, but you can lose the weight in a way that you can actually eat the foods you enjoy so you don't have that massive blowback as soon as you do hit your goal.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm always looking for the cutting edge and a lot of people are starting to say, For example, like cold showers that, is really good for you and decrease inflammation. Now people are starting to say fasting, and if you eat less, there's people are saying, you live longer and you promote autophagy and all these things. So I'm always interested in these cutting edge. So how do you work fasting into your schedule if you in like the benefits, and we'll talk about working into your schedule, like how often should you be doing
I would recommend anybody starts off with a 48-hour fast.
it? Mm,
And the reason I say 48 is anyone will do a 24-hour fast. If your doctor says you have to go into surgery or we have to check something, do a 24-hour fast, no one bats an eye. But what a lot of people don't understand is the first 24 hours of a fast is the toughest part of a fast. So say you start a fast Sunday night after dinner, you eat at 5 o'clock, you stop eating at 6, and you start a fast. The next night, so Monday at 6 p.m. is going to be the most challenging part. As long as you can get past that, go to bed, and essentially wake up Tuesday morning at that 36-hour mark,
yeah.
you're now in what they call ketosis, where your body's burning body fat and your hunger legitimately is non-existent. And man, I have a client right now doing a 21-day fast. And he's not an obese guy. He's like 210 pounds. He's done a 14-day in the past. He's done
Yeah.
multiple 7-day fasts. And what's crazy is that sounds so intimidating because we're used to, if we don't eat, we get hungrier and hungrier. But that is really only until about that 24 to 28-hour mark. If you can make it past that first day,
Uh-huh.
I mean, you can essentially go as long as you want, and you're just a fat burning machine at that time. And like you mentioned, there's all these cellular benefits like the autophagy, your body recycling the damaged old cells and getting rid of them, regenerating new cells.
Yeah.
There's brain benefits, like your brain creates these new neural pathways. You'll notice that you get kind of like a little bit sharper when you do
Yeah.
these fasts. And the beauty is, as far from a fat loss standpoint, that's where my bread and butter is at, is your metabolism is actually in a really good spot. It revs up as you fast compared to cutting your calories, where we all know oftentimes we drive our metabolism into the dirt.
Yeah.
So start off with a 48-hour fast. If you can do that, then it's just a matter of dialing in a schedule that works well for you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's quite interesting. And then I've actually experimented just not 48 hours, but just like skipping a meal and then just at night and then the next day, kind of do a light workout and then, and then I think it's called intermittent fasting is what they call it. And but I've never done a 48, which is interesting. So how do you prevent the suffering? So like, people, they kind of eat to socialize and, or even just regular people, and then they get hungry. How do you get past that? You have to be doing things and you're always around triggers and things. So, how do people fight those pangs?
Yeah, great question. And so that's a big misconception that people have as they join our program or start fasting on their own is they'll say, all right, I'm going to do a 48-hour fast and I'm supposed to have this family dinner tomorrow, like with my extended family. And then I'm just going to be sitting there and not eating while everyone's eating, or I have to meet with a client and they're going to be eating and I'm just going to be staring at them. It's very important from a sustainability aspect, and I can't stress this enough, that you work your fasting around your life, not your life around your fasting.
Uh-huh.
So you work your fasting in on the nights that you are working late or that you have a lot of paperwork to catch up on, or the family doesn't really have any dinner plans and they're just going to drive through Burger King or McDonald's or whatever it is. You could take it or leave it. And then those client meetings, the family dinners, the non-negotiables, you do eat. But as far as the cravings, that's a big one. A big part of it is how you start your fast. And by that, what I mean is the last meal that you eat before you stop eating. So
Uh-huh.
the worst thing you could do is have a bunch of simple carbs. So say like you just had a big old pizza or a big old stack of pancakes, because what's going to happen is your blood sugar is going to skyrocket, and then a few hours later it's going to come crashing down, and even
Yeah.
that next morning you're going to wake up feeling really hungry.
Uh,
And then you're just kind of suffering through it. So the best thing that you can do, Chris, is you
yeah,
can, the last meal that you eat before diving into your first 48-hour fast, or even commit to a 36-hour fast and see how you feel,
yeah,
is have a higher fat, moderate protein, low to no carb, more like keto based meal. And that's just going to keep your insulin and your blood sugar a lot more steady. So you're not fighting that hunger as much. And then during your actual fast, just staying hydrated, drinking water. You can have black coffee. You can have a lot of zero calorie drinks and electrolytes. Just staying hydrated is a big one. And busy. Stay
yeah.
productive. You don't want to just be sitting around looking at the clock either.
You described this mental state of focus that prolonged fasting, and you get like this clarity. Actually, people say you're able to think better, and it's quite interesting. I encourage anybody just to try it. It's of course consult your doctor. The other question I have is you recommend the 48 hours. How often they be doing it? Is it like once a week, once a month, quarterly? It's describe kind of the frequency.
So this is something that actually is counterintuitive because when I started, I thought I'm like everyone else. I've been conditioned we have to eat, multiple meals throughout the day and yada yada yada. So what we would end up doing is we'd have our clients do a 48 and then we'd have them take a couple days off and then do like maybe another 48. And we actually found that it was a lot tougher for people and that by actually making the fasting more frequent, that was a really good way. It was almost like a submersion therapy for people who did have bad relationships with food or were dependent on constantly eating.
Uh,
After about a week of doing back to back 48-hour fasts, or there's multiple, even one meal a day, just having dinner at the end of the day, whatever it is,
yeah.
just by doing that for a week, it was a great way to reset people and
Hmm.
have them not feel like they constantly had to have that oral fixation of grazing and finding something to put in their mouth. Like
Yeah.
fasting quickly becomes the new normal for people. And once once fasting's like the normal,
Yeah.
yeah, fat loss is obviously by definition a breeze.
Yeah, really fascinating. And it's really interesting this relationship between, food, living to eat and eating to live, and just this like this you talked about unhealthy relationships with food, types of food. I think fasting can kind of reset your body and, also prevent like or uh improve like mental conditioning and, strength and all that. Really fascinating. How can people, you mentioned you have a program that helps people, walks through people through this, and how can people contact you, follow you on socials, reach out to you, etc.?
Yeah, connect with me on Instagram's Joel Staley Fitness. You could go to my website, shedfatfast.com, but I'd say let's connect on Instagram. One thing I have worked out with a couple of physicians that's really helpful is having a kind of like a referral program for their clients. Because if a physician who's struggled with the same 50 pounds for a decade finally finds something that not only works for them, but it's sustainable and enjoyable for them, now, as long as obviously the company that they're with will back them and whatnot, they now have a resource that they can give their clients as an additional tool in their belt. Uh, that helps me market, grow, spread my impact, and then we can work out kind of like
Yeah.
affiliate or referral fees from there. But from your audience, man, I would love to find a few physicians that are passionate about helping their clients lose weight and get healthy, and then building a relationship from there if possible.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. And like I said, I'm always looking at the cutting edge techniques and what the people are on the cutting edge doing. And a lot of Olympic athletes, experiment with this as well. They're always trying new things. For all the audience out there, let's thank Joel for coming on. Be sure to give his socials a like and follow, and check out his links in the show notes. And thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you, Chris.